Hello and welcome. My name is Tom Shima. Over the course of 2026, I'm playing the game Persona 3 Reload. Only I'm trying something a little different. I'm going to match the pace of the game. That's right, I'm playing this game one real day at a time. Please enjoy this different take on the game in a series I'm calling Persona a Day. Hello and welcome. Thank you all so much for being here today. My name is Tom Shima. Come on in, grab a seat, grab a snack, get something to drink, and let's just have some fun today. As I've been doing, I'm going to continue playing Persona 3 Reload in the series I'm calling Persona a Day. This year is that unique opportunity where it is a one-to-one match between the game and real life, so I thought it'd be fun to try to attempt to play it as it actually goes. And so far I really have been enjoying playing it that way. Hopefully you've been enjoying watching it that way too. I've been playing every day live, like I said, and I've also been uploading every day's playthrough to YouTube, kind of like a journal of activity so far. So if you ever want to look back and see how this journey began, or if you want to catch up on any other days, that's where you can do that. And so, like I like to do, I want to go over what we did yesterday to catch everybody up and make sure we're all on the same page. Then we'll get into today's gameplay. We'll see what we can get up to in game there. Afterwards, we'll kind of take a step back, come back to the desk here and talk about it a little bit. And that's about where we'll wrap things up after that. So let's first off look back on Thursday, April 30th. It was the end of the month already, kind of wild to think. Wednesday had been a holiday, so we kind of made it back to reality. We were back starting the morning in school again. And it was a fairly standard morning. Nothing was essentially called out to us that stood out to us. So we've been trying to just kind of interject our own thoughts and reminders that it was a school day, and even if it was quickly depicted in game, it was still that time passing in the game world. But in the afternoon, we did have a specific lesson from the school nurse, actually, Professor, Mr. Edogawa, who taught us, of all things, a lesson about magic. Not a typical, lesson I ever remember having in school, but it was entertaining the way he presented things. He also tied the concept to the idea of the placebo effect, and, how belief in something can lead to making it true, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. And it was interesting to kind of take that concept and tie it into magic, but then apply it more broadly to other things as well. So I thought it was a really well done lesson. And, the magic side of things also kind of fit in with the idea of the Persona series and, understanding the unknown and the shadows and Tartarus and everything we've been exploring so far. So it just had that extra level of meaning to me. And we had the option to sleep in class, which again, I did not do. I've never really thought that was a good thing to do, like I've been saying, but I was also interested in the lesson, so we stayed awake, we listened to it, and we gained some academic progress as a result as well. After that, classes wrapped up, and we've been doing, I kind of looked around to see what we wanted to do. I don't have a set goal specifically every day. I'm not using any guides or walkthroughs, so we're just taking each day as it comes. We saw Chihiro, the first-year treasury member of the student council, in the halls. We'd been trying to talk to her, and she's about as anxious as I am on things, so I can relate to a lot of the concerns and things she encounters. But I also want to be that person to reach out to her in a way that I would appreciate someone reaching out to me. I don't want to, overwhelm her on anything, and I want to take things at her own pace. So we saw her in the hall and wanted to just kind of, stop and say hi again. And that went a little bit better, but she was still, pretty nervous. But I felt like we made a little bit of progress there, which was encouraging for me and hopefully for her as well. And after that, as I usually do, I kind of just, walked around town a little bit to see the sights and talk out our ideas for what we wanted to do for the day. We ended up making our way back to school because the track team was holding practice. We joined the track team last week. And I've been saying it kind of feels like the responsible thing to do as a member of the team to actually attend practice. And we had a couple other things we had considered doing, but some of those were available more often than the track practices, so I reasoned that we should head to track practice. I also talked about how that kind of fits in with the idea of exploring Tartarus and working on physical activity to get a little bit stronger and faster and such. Yukari also mentioned she's working with the archery team, so she's kind of doing her own thing in that regard. And so I kind of reasoned that story-wise, we're doing the same thing with the track team. And it was a normal practice. Everybody was there. And Miyamoto looked like he was doing okay, which was encouraging because his leg was bothering him the other day. We didn't actually rank up the Arcana level of the chariot yet, but it was just, that's not the only reason we're doing these activities either. Like I've tried to say before, I want to take this as a student and as a member of the school and of the team, so we were just there to practice without expecting something in return for it, basically. And so it felt good to be active with the team and to see the team working together and just having a good practice. So as that wrapped up, we ended up making our way back to the dorm, just to check in with everybody there. They were usually doing their own thing. That held true last night as well. And one of the main things I really wanted to look at in the evening was headed for Club Escapade at the Polonia Mall. For a few days, a week or so, we've been trying to work on building our courage because we weren't courageous enough to enter the club. And day before yesterday, we actually finally reached that ordinary level where we were finally confident enough to enter. And since we'd been working for that, I obviously wanted to kind of reap that reward and head in and see what that club actually had to offer. So we made our way over there, and we saw all sorts of colorful characters inside. One of the first ones we talked to was a fortune teller, of all people. And it was kind of interesting to see the fortune she offered us, as well as the fact that as we explore Tartarus, she'll actually have some abilities to help us encounter different shadows and such. So it's just another bit of versatility that we can take advantage of going forward from here. There were people talking about fortunes and whether or not they believe it or not. And that was kind of fun because I was able to tie that back to Mr. Edogawa's lesson from school, and the idea of that placebo effect, and believing something to be true, potentially making it true. So it was just fun to see that unintentional connection that was forming there. And we talked to the bartender, who seemed like a casual guy. He recognized, obviously, that we're probably not old enough to be in there. I mean, we're high school students, so technically that's got to be true. But he also said, don't cause any trouble, and there won't be any trouble. So I appreciate that level of trust, I suppose. He didn't just tell us to get out and stay out, but he also said, I've got my eye on you, so don't force my hand on this, essentially. We met a guy selling some, surprisingly expensive accessories. It was nice to see, the different things he had on offer, but also then to, look in our wallet and see that those are very far off dreams, if ever. But if we ever, do come into some money, we've got a good place to come spend it. There was a mysterious guy selling us website links, of all things, that, he talked about like the dark web and, this, shady hacker stuff. So we've got a connection there that, if we ever need to buy anything in that regards, not a typical person I would expect in a club. Not that I frequent clubs, but, it was a colorful group of people, obviously. And it'll be interesting to see, too, as we go back there occasionally, how that place changes from day to day. It'll just be another part of our, our routine to check out around town. And without anything specifically to spend our time there other than looking around, we ended up thinking, what was the next thing I wanted to work on as far as character growth was concerned. We'd really been focusing hard on courage for the last few days, and we reached that level of ordinary. So I looked at our charm and our academics, which are both still at level 1. I mean, all three of them still need work, obviously, so any progress we make is good progress, but I kind of wanted some focus as well. And I reasoned that our charm level was plain, which didn't sound overly bad to me, but our academic level was considered slacker. And I just kind of thought that has potentially more negative connotations to it. I'd rather not be thought of as a slacker if I can avoid it. So I decided academics was going to be our next area of focus and try to bring that up a little bit. And in thinking about how we can work on that, I'd considered heading to there was a sushi place that was selling fish that had rich omega, they were rich in omegas, so that would have helped our academics. But then I remembered the shared computer we'd used the other day came with a copy of Digital Cram School that Junpei said we were allowed to use. I figured since we already had that back at the dorm, we wouldn't have to pay for anything, and it would help our academics. It was kind of just that perfect use of our time. So we ended up back at the dorm. We loaded up that Digital Cram School software and worked on some challenging questions for the rest of the evening. And it sounds like we were able to work through those with varying levels of success. The game told us we were getting better at thinking outside of the box and feeling accomplished there. So it felt like a really productive and good study session to wrap up the day. One of those nice things as a high school student, too, to kind of be conscious of the academic progress that needs to be made and aware of that sort of thing. So it felt like we were being responsible and also developing ourselves as a result. That best of both worlds. So with that, we headed upstairs to bed, feeling accomplished. It felt like we got a lot done that day. We had the physical activity at the track team in the afternoon, the mental activity in the evening working in Digital Cram School. And I think it was also done in a way that was fun. I mean, we chose all these things. It wasn't forced on us. So sometimes those are the best bits of progress that are made when you choose to do them yourself. So I think that catches us up on where we ended up yesterday. We are moving into a brand new month now. It is May 1st, just like it is on the real calendar. So I will get us over to the game and we will see what this new month has to offer. I'll send us over and we'll be right there. Okay, so this is where we left off after studying yesterday. We gained a little bit of progress in our academics, but not enough to push us beyond the level of slacker yet. And then it got late, so we headed back to the room. So here it is, Friday, May 1st, just like it is for all of us.
Morning.
That was kind of a despondent, greeting, wasn't it? Morning. It's been pretty warm lately, hasn't it? I don't know where all of you are, but it's been, all over the place for temperatures recently here. It's actually a little cool today, which was a nice break from the warmth. But in-game, it's been pretty warm lately, hasn't it? Well, it's already May. Isn't it crazy how fast time flies? That is crazy to think, yeah. Which is especially crazy for me to think in the way I'm playing this game. A lot of people would be here, fairly quickly, and if you're playing this in a normal gaming sense. But I started this playthrough back on April 6th, and here it is, May 1st already, and it still seems like it's been a quick time, despite the fact that it's taken, as long as it actually has since April 6th. It's weird how time flew like that. But it is, definitely crazy how time flies. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Seriously. And a lot's happened. And I'm sure there's a lot more to come, too. Apathy syndrome might not go away anytime soon, either. Since we're the only ones who can fight shadows, maybe we should be working harder. It's a good bit of motivation. Besides, I need to get stronger, too. I can't have someone else protecting me all the time. I can relate to that side of things, too, and I want to carry my own weight. I don't want to be that burden.
Hey, did you hear? Sonata-san's getting checked up at the hospital today.
Oh, nice. For anybody that, hasn't, been around with us, you may or may not remember that a couple weeks ago, the dorm was attacked by some shadows, and he was injured in said attack. So he's been, recovering since then. Hasn't been able to join us for exploring Tartarus or do any of his club activities with the boxing team. So he's been kind of itching to get back to full strength. So it sounds like he's getting checked up at the hospital today.
He called me earlier and asked me to bring him something.
I like how Junpei sounds, excited. He trusted me with this. He needs me for this. I get to be the hero with this. I'm bringing him something.
Yep. He knows who to count on.
Exactly.
He only asked you because you don't have anything better to do after school.
And then Yukari instantly shoots him down.
Hey, I resent that.
Just kidding. So, what do you want you to bring?
The class roster for 2E.
Huh.
Class roster? What's he want that for?
Yeah, that is kind of a curious thing to ask for, considering he's a third-year student.
Well, I don't have practice today, so I guess I'll come along and find out. You're coming too, right?
Yeah, we haven't made other plans. I suppose there's no reason not to. I could pass and see what's out there, but yeah, like I said earlier, I want to take this as it comes, and we've got this opportunity that sounds different and unique. And yeah, sure, I'll come too.
Cool.
Wait a minute.
What? Is there a problem?
Well, it was me, he asked.
I do feel kind of bad for Junpei in that regard, that we both just invited ourselves along on something he wanted to take care of.
Is Sonata-san?
Yeah. This is a new face, someone we haven't encountered before. Obviously someone nobody here expected to see.
Huh? In this room? By any chance?
That kind of sounds like my response if I were to meet a sudden stranger not expecting him. That trail off and try to, oh yeah, is that... Maybe I'll be better at it, eventually, but in the moment, I'm sure I would be just as blindsided as Junpei sounds here.
What are all of you doing here?
That's a fair question since he only asked for Junpei.
We came to see you,
Good that we did.
but you look like you're doing just fine.
That's because I'm just here for a checkup.
We done here, Aki?
A bit of a casual tone there. I mean, calling him Aki instead of Akihiko.
Yeah, thanks.
I don't have time for this shit.
This kind of feels like that feeling to me when you've got two different groups of friends that don't normally interact with each other, and suddenly, two different sets of people are meeting that each know you in a specific way, but neither group knows the other group. So you're kind of that stuck in the middle, pulled in two directions of, what do I say to one group that, group two can also, relate to, or, maybe I'm the only one that sees it that way, but it just kind of has that underlying awkward feel of two different worlds colliding.
You're... Never mind.
Huh. Well, that was cryptic. And there's that weird part of my brain that thinks it would be kind of fun to just, walk down the street and see somebody and, say the same thing. You just kind of stop and stare. You're... Nah, never mind. Just to see what their reaction was like. Would that, be in their head the rest of the day? What was that person saying? Were they just a crazy person? And because I don't want that connotation, I wouldn't actually do it, but the thought crosses my mind as something potentially fun. Just like that, he seems done with us.
Who was that?
A friend from school. Sort of.
Yeah. And I can definitely be on Akihiko's side here. It's like, he doesn't need to explain who all of his friends are. Obviously, we're not going to know all the people he knows. So it almost kind of came across when, Junpei and all of us were wondering, it's like, who is this person? It's like, kind of none of our business. It's between Akihiko and, the other guy there.
You know how the number of apathy syndrome cases has been increasing?
We have seen news reports about that and seen more people around town.
Well, he knows a few people who are suffering from it. So I thought we'd have a little chat.
Sounds like a good, responsible thing to do. Even if he's not able to join us in combat yet, he's still working for the team on the fact-finding information side of things.
Hey, Junpei, did you bring what I asked?
Of course I did.
Nice.
Thanks. All right, let's get going.
I'll take it to mean that his checkup went well then.
Should you be moving your arm around so much?
I'm fine. I've wasted enough time already. I need to get back to my training.
He sure sounds motivated.
By the way, Senpai, why boxing?
You mean, why did I choose the sport? Well, it's not the sport itself I like. I just wanted to learn how to fight with my bare hands.
There is a part of that concept and that idea that I like. I mean, not that I ever want to actually have to fight anybody. Obviously, I would hope most people wouldn't want that. But the ability to defend yourself without relying on anything other than yourself is just it's always been a cool thought to me. I've always liked the concept of boxing. The actual practice of it I've never attempted, and don't see myself ever actually attempting, but I like the idea of it.
I know what it's like to feel powerless. I don't ever want to feel that way again.
Yeah, that fits pretty perfectly then, bettering himself to be ready anytime. I mean, his fists are always a part of him. They're always there to rely on.
Besides, I'm curious to see how strong I can get.
He's also got that motivation to him, too.
It's like a game, only I'm competing against myself.
Man, I wish I could apply that logic to so many more things I do. I love, gamifying things, and if I could see this as, not just work or something that I'm trying to, that I'm not succeeding as much as I want to succeed at. If I can try to see more things as self-inflicted, competition, there'd always be that progress to be made. Or I guess on the glass half empty side, I'm always losing to myself, but I'd rather stay optimistic and say, I'm better than the me that was, doing this yesterday. And I like to think that's probably how he's taking it as well.
That's one way of looking at it.
I really feel like Junpei was talking to me there in my rambling.
But hey, I got you. I'm into games too.
That's true. We've seen him gaming quite a lot back at the dorm. He even gave us that online game the other day.
Yeah, video games.
She says with that disdain that kind of hits personally.
No, but like fighting games.
Whatever.
He tries to defend himself, but she's not having it.
Oh, it's you. Welcome back.
Just like that, we've made it back to the dorm for the evening already. Oh, regarding Akihiko's recovery, it seems he'll still need some more time. Well, there's no need to rush things. You've all been working hard. Use the long weekend to rest. That said, there's been an uptick in the number of incidents lately, so don't be careless. I can't seem to shake this bad feeling I have. Perhaps it's just unnecessary concern on my part. So we have made it back to the dorm. Let's get the game saved. And as we do, let's take care of this bag we're carrying around. Let's take that up to the room and get comfy before we figure out what we're going to do with the rest of our day. I've said it before, but I just love that little detail, being able to come up here and put my bag away. It doesn't have to happen, and it doesn't make any difference if I don't come up here and do that, but the fact that I can do it, I just like to do. Oh, let's start off as we do with checking our mail. We've got some messages, it looks like. We've got a message from the Game Parade newsletter, titled Games. It's the same ad we've seen before, but I'm going to keep reading them like I do. Come play our popular crane game and try to win a prize. Then stick around and hop into one of our many immersive video games. There's great fun to be had, whether you're alone or with friends. We can't wait to see you. We'll keep that in mind as something to do. I also like to check and see what the rest of the world has done. If there's this network option that shows the breakdown of choices people made. And I try not to necessarily let that influence me, but it's like, I like to see the different choices. They're all valid choices. We had just a small few people went to Tartarus tonight. Most everybody else focused on their various daily life activities. I'm thinking that's probably where we're going to end up as well. Well, I guess, in fact, I know we're not doing Tartarus. I don't plan to go to Tartarus tonight because looking at everyone's average level and floors explored, we are right there on pace with them. So I don't feel like we're necessarily behind or in need of trying to catch up to anything. And so that just opens up the night to work on other development side of things. I kind of said I want to look at working on our academics. Because if you'll remember, we did level up our courage the other day. We made it to ordinary. That's what let us get into the Club Escapade yesterday. But we're still plain and we're still a slacker for our charm and our academics. I think academics was the next category I wanted to build. And we'll round out it with charm and just see where everything takes us. And even that, maybe once I go forward, I will want to change priorities. So I don't want to lock into committing too far ahead without knowing what circumstances will change between now and then. But the current plan is to focus on academics. And they'd also mentioned a long weekend, so let's stop by the calendar here and just take a look. It's today, Friday. And it looks like, the Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we've all got, holidays. If you'll remember, Showa Day was a couple days ago, back on the 29th. That kind of kicked off, Golden Week, which is a set of holidays, all in quick succession in Japan. Sunday's Constitution Day, Monday's Greenery Day, and Tuesday's Children's Day. You'll see they're all red, so those are all holidays, so there's not going to be any school on any of those days. So, once we make it through, the rest of school for the remainder of this week, we are going to be on that nice long break, so it'll be fun to have that coming up. I can definitely remember that as a kid when you've got some, longer time coming up. You're not in school, and it's just how great that feels and how exciting that potential is. So it's got to be going through everybody's head there, too. They're like, okay, the week's almost over. Then we can set into a long weekend and have some fun. And it's nice to kind of catch up and know that these days are coming up, because I want to do a little bit of research and talk somewhat knowledgeably about the the days as we approach them. So hopefully you can look forward to that. Yeah, on those notes, though, let's head back downstairs. We've got some people to talk to. I want to check the news, as we like to do. And just keep the nice, fun Friday evening activity going. It's also been a long day, so let's take a break here and get cleaned up. Feel my mind wander. There's nothing in particular that needs my attention right now. I say it, I've said it, I'll keep saying it. It's always nice to get to that point where it's like there's nothing weighing on my mind that demands my attention right away. Let's see what's on TV tonight. Let's see what's on TV. Man on the Street interviews. Tell us, how are you spending your Golden Week this year? And that's the word from the man on the street. Now, back to the studio for more news. You're looking at that news report, I do kind of wonder, was that just an indecisive person that wasn't sure how they want to spend Golden Week? Or, could that be that apathy syndrome we've been seeing people dealing with? It looked a little less like the kind of like zombie tone it feels like, the apathy syndrome people are using, but it also kind of felt, at the very least, this guy was blindsided with a reporter questioning how he's going to spend his time, but I can always relate to that feeling too. There were plenty of days at work where, at the end of the day, someone would come by and it's like, so, what did you do today? And it's like, throughout the day, I knew exactly what I'd worked on, but, when I was put on the spot in the moment, it was kind of that backpedaling of like, what did I do? To some extent, I'm sure some of my, post-game, talking sessions feel like that too when I look back on what we did today, and it's like, what did I do today? I'm always trying to work on that, but I can just still put myself in the moment for that potential man on the street during that interview there. Don't stare at Yukari too long here. She's on her phone, so let's talk to her and get out of her face. Who was that guy in Sonata Senpai's hospital room? You think it was a friend of his? I really don't want to call her out here and say you shouldn't cry, because, technically we all know that, but having somebody else kind of act all high and mighty and call her out on that just feels unnecessarily cruel, especially since it seems kind of obvious that we're just as curious as she is. And I don't want to say they didn't seem like friends, because we'll remember the other guy called him Aki instead of Akihiko, and Akihiko said it was someone from school and that it was complicated. But I don't think they would have that casual interaction if they weren't in some capacity friends. So I'm gonna say it seemed like it. Yeah, he did. I was trying to remember. I thought he said he was a friend from school, but I didn't want to make that assumption incorrectly. But yeah, I guess he did say he was a friend from school. But I don't think I've seen him at school before, so I don't know. I do also want to reiterate here that I have played this game a couple times from start to finish, but I'm not going to let that get in the way of this playthrough. I'm going to do everything I can to keep spoilers spoiler-free. Other, I guess, than the fact that we're playing every day at a time, so the story will naturally unfold as we go forward. But I don't want to let prior knowledge that I have negatively impact the story experience for all of us here. So even if I do know something, I'm going to really try to put myself in the shoes of the character and only know what he knows. So worry not, I am taking every precaution I can to keep this as fun and spoiler-free as I can for all of you. Even if that means, answering things that I already technically know the answer to. I'm actually also having fun with it this way and really trying to get more in the character's head and be in the moment. Take this one day at a time. Hopefully that's coming across and that you're enjoying it too. Junpei's back to gaming, it looks like, just like he was talking about at the hospital there. And just like we interrupted Yukari, that lean back. I can either something good happened or something bad happened. My first impression was that that something went wrong. I lost kind of vibe. Well, let's bother him while he's gaming. Sonata-san's got to be like a superhuman or something. Didn't his shadow injure him? But he's acting totally normal, like it was no big deal. Normally, people wouldn't be all like, I gotta heal up fast so I can jump back into the fight. He really is a boxing champ. Worlds apart from us ordinary folks, huh? He does really seem to have it all figured out for what he wants from his time and of himself. We don't know a whole lot about him either, so it's kind of hard to make too many judgments, but the image I have of him so far does definitely feel like that. Looks like we've interrupted everybody else. Let's keep that going and, talk to Mitsuru while she's reading. Is something the matter? Just wanted to chat.
Yes? What is it?
Akihiko is still having some tests done. He should be back tomorrow, though. So I guess that's why he's not here in the dorm with us. I don't know what tests he's going through, but it seems like a long day of tests for him. Well, let's take another look here at what everybody decided to do with their day. Yep, they took to the town to see what was out there. Let's do the same. Actually, since we got into Club Escapade yesterday, I kind of want to stop by again and just see if anything seems different than it was yesterday. Let's start at Polonia Mall. We'll make the usual rounds while we're here. We'll check out the arcade, we'll stop in and say hi to the usuals. Just keep the day going. So what's available at Game Parade today? We've got House of the Deceased, a horror game with terrifying zombies that raises courage. It might have been last Friday, not that long ago it feels like, that we actually, spent the evening at the arcade playing House of the Deceased. Because we were working on our courage. We're not looking at that right now, but it's nice to know it's there. And another, real wheel racer to raise our equipped persona's agility. A good option, but not what we need. We do have this crane game here that was mentioned in the ad, and for anybody that doesn't remember, we played it one time and we actually won a prize. We put our money in and it was a 1-for-1 win, so I haven't really felt the need to go back since we already won. It's a really easy way to sink what limited money we have into losing that money. We'll pop in the pharmacy here. I think they have sales on Saturday, so we'll look more closely tomorrow. Something different. Just for the record, using medicine alone doesn't guarantee good health. Eating a balanced diet and exercising regularly are more important than coming here. Anyway, enough chit-chat. Take your time and browse. I do kind of appreciate that overall wellness concept from the pharmacist here, and that, the medicine is here to help in specific situations, but, the best measure of, keeping good health is staying healthy in the first place and not getting to the point where you need the pharmacy. And I mean, I kind of appreciate an owner like that who isn't saying, like, oh, this will solve all your problems, so don't worry about anything else and just come to me when a problem happens. He actually seems to care about, like, don't get sick in the first place and you won't need to worry about these problems. But if it does happen, I'm here to help you. Just kind of builds that rapport, that bit of trust that I appreciate with him. So far, the only thing we've actually bought from him was a can of the super cat food for the weak cat, who still hasn't been able to take it from us, but it was a fun thought that Chat had to, pick one of the cans up. Nothing new on offer right now,
Even
though.
if you're struggling now, everything will work out in the end. Just look at me. I went through hell, but now I've got my own shop.
I don't know his background, but I like that thought. It's like, no matter how bad things seem, things change, so we just got to keep a positive attitude about it. I guess in saying we're not going to buy anything from him today, but we'll look again tomorrow and just see what the sale prices are like and if we really think we need to stock up on anything.
Thanks.
And it's just nice to check in with the pharmacy owner and keep him a regular part of our playthrough. By that same logic, let's check in with our Velvet Room residents.
Welcome to the Velvet Room.
Yeah, I'm not really here for anything, specific. Like I like to do, though, I do stop in and just say hi to Igor and Elizabeth every day. They've been supporting us in the background here all this time, and it's so easy to only come in and talk to them when we need them, but I've tried to really make it a point this playthrough to just make them more of a regular part for the same idea as the pharmacist or Officer Kurosawa. They're all important people in our world, and I kind of want to just give them a little bit more spotlight, even if the game itself doesn't call for me to draw attention to them. So like I like to do, hello Elizabeth, hello Igor. Thank you all for being here all the time. I'll keep relying on you in the future. Just wanted to stop in and say hi and hope the month of May is starting out nice for you.
We look forward to your next visit.
It may seem like kind of just, inane, idle chatter, but I want them to be part of this playthrough more often. In the past, when I would play the game, it's like if I needed the Velvet Room, I'd go in and I'd fuse a persona or I'd update the compendium, but otherwise, there isn't a game-specific need to go there, so I just, wouldn't go there. that doesn't diminish the characters that are there, but this just keeps them more in our mind and just part of the world with us. Same with Officer Kurosawa here. I think he has sales on Monday, so we're not here to shop. Again, new dialogue from him here. I'm ashamed to admit it, but there isn't much we adults can do for you when it really counts. Now then, I don't have that much, but you should be able to find what you need. So yeah, he supplies us with weapons, armor, footwear, and accessories.
As long as you need.
Still nothing new. Didn't expect there to be, but it's always, worth checking in ahead of time to make sure.
You finished?
And I like how he said, when it really matters, there's nothing we can do, because he knows we're doing something during, the dark hour, that he doesn't know what the dark hour is, but he knows we're doing something, and he's trying to support us in whatever way he can. He knows that, traditional everyday means, don't work for whatever we're doing, so he's just kind of stepping up and doing what he thinks is right to work for that greater good, despite not having all the information. And he's also that man enough to admit it. It's like, I don't know what you're doing, and I don't know how to help, but if what I'm doing can help, I will keep trying to do it. So he's another good ally we've got on our side. There's the Chagall Cafe. We worked there a couple nights earlier this week. Into Club Escapade again. Looks about like it did yesterday. Pan around here, hopefully not make anybody dizzy. Nobody new to talk to, but let's check in with the fortune teller and just, see what sort of fortune we have today. What is my future? You have pulled fate's trigger. The bullet passes through many things, headed directly to its target. What target that may be, however, is unknown to me. You must find that out for yourself. Let us hope that you find fortune in your destiny. That was the same fortune from yesterday, so I guess from a fortune-telling standpoint, that's encouraging. We're still headed toward the same future. I guess even more uncanny, potentially. It was literally word for word what it was yesterday, so it feels like less of that fake fortune teller idea and more of an actual fortune teller. And just up here, we've got the same, set of couples that felt like I was interfering with yesterday that we'll stay out of their way again here today. So yeah, not a whole lot to see, but it's nice to stop in and just be able to be in here. This is still kind of that reward for working on our courage earlier. And I'm sure as we go forward, new things will happen now that we have access to the place. It's just, nice to have worked towards something and see results that paid off for it. I think that might be all that we have to do at the Polonia Mall here. But there's one other stop we can make along the way back. And let's mix it up. I always start at the mall, but let's go across the street to the station first today and just get some steps in over here and look around. Oh, we've got a taxi driver. We've seen him before, but he's got something new to say. The station workers always remind me to tell my customers to keep the station clean. Seems like there's a lot of littering going on these days, but I probably won't say anything. My first thought was, why not? I mean, I kind of get that you don't want to be that guy that's constantly harping on your customers about things, but I'd rather have him tell me why. So let's ask, why not? Okay, it's about what we figured. I ain't about to lecture my customers. If I did, no one would want to ride in my cab. And the customer's always right, The station people don't care about us anyway. I'm just going to say, the customer is always right is definitely not a phrase that I believe in. You do want to treat them, with respect, obviously, and, you can't just defaultly assume, the customer is the enemy, because obviously that's wrong, but that misconception of the customer is always right has bred an entitled type of customer that believes that they are always right no matter what they do. Having worked, with customers before, I can say with, personal experience that no, there are plenty of customers who are not right. They're convinced they are because of this, idea, but anyway, I don't want to get off on that tangent. Yeah, it still looks like a variety of people doing a variety of things here. Nothing that specifically draws our attention. And on the idea of littering too. I mean, I think we talked about that the other day too, and that's an easy problem to solve. That it's amazing people don't take that time, especially as prevalent as proper disposal things are around. That they just feel they're entitled to just throw stuff wherever. Maybe that circles into that customer's always right idea of I can't be bothered to walk all the way over and put things in the trash over here. I mean, look, it's already kind of full, so I'll just throw it anywhere because it doesn't really matter. I wouldn't consider that myself. I mean, I don't want to judge people that do, but I guess I say that, but I can't really help kind of judging them for it, so sorry if that's you. I'm just kind of rambling up here, nowhere in particular to be, but let's pop in the Net Cafe and see. We've got a couple things already on hand. We've got the membership to the Beef Full Place down the mall here. We played Animal Othello to work on our courage the other day. And this would work on our charm for lessons in etiquette. Beautiful body working here by watching the videos for virtual diet. Learning English with language made easy. Type in Ghoul takes courage to fight the zombies. Muscle Boot Camp to strengthen our muscles. Mindful Boot Camp, strengthen our mind. And something we already have. As far as academics go, I think the only thing that would apply to that would be the language made easy for 1,200 yen. I'll keep that in mind, because I think there's also a place downstairs here. Was it Wakatsu Kitchen? I've double-checked it a few times, but yeah, they have the Prodigy Platter here. Get smarter while you digest, which would work our academics. I'm considering that. We haven't actually been there yet. It's in line with a task that we want to work on. And it's just seeing another new part of the world that we haven't done before. I mean, we haven't played that software that we could get upstairs either, so that would technically be new to us. There were a lot of people that did a lot of different things. I mean, the shared computer, offers a lot of different things. We could study in the room, too. I hadn't really considered that one. But it is also a Friday night, so there's that part of me that kind of wants to not just, be cooped up in the room. We did study on the computer last night in the lobby and, worked on stuff like that. So, going up to our room and studying would be good, but it would be kind of a rehash of last night. I guess by that same logic, if I were to buy software today and take it home, we would just be back at the shared computer doing the exact same thing there again, too. So I think to vary things a little bit and still stay in line with working on our academics, let's get a good meal at the Wakatsu Kitchen here tonight. I don't think there's anywhere else to go. It's something, it makes it more like it's a different day of the week. It's a Friday. We've never been here before. I do kind of wish I had that option to go back to the dorm and say, hey, Junpei, you want to come with me? Or Yukari, let's go to Wakatsu. But they were doing their own things too, I suppose, so it's not like I'm shutting them out. It's just I'm filling my own time because I've got the time to spend doing things. Yeah, I think that sounds like a fun spending of our day. Start the month of May doing something new here. Hopefully having a good meal. It's also not that expensive. It was what? Yeah, 680 yen. Buying new software would cost 1,200 yen. So almost double the cost here. Yeah, I feel good about this choice. I can afford it. It works on our goals. It's something new. It's something fun. Let's do it. The Prodigy Platter. A meal rich in omega-3s to stimulate the brain and raise academics. I guess if only it were actually that easy. Let's go, though. A regular customer is ordering the seafood full course. Seems like a special offer for regulars on Monday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday nights. That's something to keep in mind. This is our first time here, so we're obviously not a regular customer yet, but if we do become one, then Mondays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays could be interesting. I see. I need to be, more charming, to the level of actually being confident to be able to order like that. So that's another little signpost out there of something to work towards. Oh, that looks like a good meal. And also just kind of taking it in. There's the other couple in the other booth over there. You can see out the window the cars passing by and the people on the street. Just, fills out that world again a little bit more. A We're not just existing in a vacuum. And we're actually, like, taking the food to our mouths here. It's not just sitting there stoically staring at the food and, absorbing it and eating it that way. We're actually going through, technically, the motions, since we're not actually, moving food, but I'll still give it to him as, looking like progress and putting me in the moment. I order the Prodigy platter. Maybe it's something in the ingredients, but I feel a little smarter. Maybe this ties into yesterday's lesson with Edogawa as well, and, that placebo effect of, we were told that this meal makes us smarter, and by eating it, we're feeling like it's making us smarter. So whether or not that actually is the case, I guess that's the eternal question. I guess technically we have an answer. We've got the progress points there. 2 more points in academics. Still a slacker, but 2 points less of a slacker. So with that choice, we are now a plain ordinary slacker. All things considered, we could be better, but we could be worse. We were worse. We were a plain timid slacker before. But we're taking steps to a thing that we wanted to work on, that I wanted to work on, and I dragged you guys along for the ride. All right. We'll stop it there so we don't get into tomorrow before tomorrow. Let's head back to the desk and talk about it. There we are. So, that was a quicker day today. We still got to see a variety of different things, though. Fewer of the choices were actually ours to make, but we got to see some things we don't normally encounter, so I think that, kind of made it a different day and a fun day in its own way. We started at school. A nice Friday morning there. We got in, did what we do. Got to hear that, Akihiko had a checkup after school that Junpei was going to take him the roster for Class 2E. He wanted that for, whatever reason he wanted that for. And Yukari and I decided that we were going to tag along as well. Junpei seemed a little, I don't want to say annoyed or anything, maybe a little put off since he thought that this was his special task from Akihiko. But, in spite of all that, we still, went along with him and, got to the hospital there and met someone we hadn't seen before waiting in Akihiko's room. Seemed kind of gruff and not necessarily antisocial, but didn't see the need to, be social with us. He also kind of had that air of confidence that, even put Junpei, I think he was kind of taken aback when he saw him. Then Akihiko came in and just kind of said, he's a friend from school, and, kept it vague, said it was complicated and kind of left it at that. Our mystery person kind of, got up, walked towards us, made some cryptic comments about, seemingly recognizing or knowing something about, somebody in the group before, dismissing it and walking out. An interesting introduction to someone. We'll see where that goes, going forward from here. But that circled back then to Akihiko and his checkup. Junpei gave him the roster that he'd asked for, and it sounded like things were progressing in the positive direction with Akihiko, so that was encouraging. And he was talking about how he wants to get better and get back to what he does, his training, his getting stronger. Yukari asked him why he picked boxing, and he kind of got into a little bit of a backstory about not wanting to feel powerless and being able to rely on his own strength. So it was kind of nice to get that little bit of context for why he's chosen what he has. We still don't know a lot about Akihiko. We haven't had many chances to interact, but there's just these little bits of breadcrumb ideas of character development and building that they form a picture around him before even getting to know him. We've seen him plenty of nights in the lobby, cleaning his boxing gloves as well, making sure those are all maintained properly, despite not being able to train. So he really seems like the kind of guy that takes things very serious and holds himself to the highest standard. And he even said he wants to compete against himself, and that was another reason he picked boxing. He's not there to beat other people. He's there to get stronger than he used to be. Kind of had that cool motivation, that man's man idea of being better than I was yesterday. I was seeing, hopefully I can apply that same logic to myself going forward. So that was how we spent our afternoon. That didn't really leave us any time to wander around or advance any other social links. But in a way, this was kind of, it was definitely a social activity in and of itself, with the people at the dorm. A little more than just, talking to them in the usual evenings and interrupting their dinners and such. So it was encouraging to see Akihiko's getting better. That took us back to the dorm for the evening. And at that point, we actually did kind of interrupt people during their dinners and their activities. And just did some general chatting. A lot of it seemed to center on the mystery man we met at the hospital and wondering, what his connection to Akihiko was. And, not really knowing, but all of us kind of voicing that curiosity and just, wondering, how do they know each other? What was up with that? Not that it's really any of our business. Like I said, Akihiko can have people that we don't know that are friends, that he's his own man. He doesn't need to run everything he does by us. I haven't taken all my social links to meet everybody at the dorm yet. But it was nice to just kind of catch up with everybody like we do. Decided to head back out in the evening then. We didn't get to go around town in the afternoon, so I kind of wanted to make our usual rounds, stop by the Polonia Mall and just, talk to the pharmacist and, say hi to Igor and Elizabeth, check in on Officer Kurosawa. Just, again, like I said, in the moment, keeping them as part of our playthrough rather than just, shopkeeper background characters that we only visit when we need them for something. With that, I kind of wanted, my priority in the evening was to head back to Club Escapade. Yesterday was our first time in there, so I wanted to, pop in again and just see if anything was different today, if new people were there, or if the people that were there had new things to talk about. And we talked to the fortune teller again to see if, if our fortune was any different than it was yesterday. And surprisingly, it was exactly the same word for word as it was yesterday, which I kind of thought in the moment was the sign of a good fortune if it hasn't changed from one day to the next. Maybe it adds some credibility to the fortune teller. Or maybe we're seeing that credibility because we believe it's there. Maybe. But since there was nothing to specifically interact with there at the time, that was kind of how we wrapped up our visits to the Polonia Mall and headed over to the station mall. We talked to a taxi driver who was talking about, how the station's hoping he can, just try to do a little bit more to combat the litter problem that's going on there by asking, his taxi customers to be mindful of littering. He said no, he's not going to do that because he doesn't want to lecture his customers and then lose his customers. Which, I could also appreciate from a business side of things, but, I was kind of torn. He'd gotten off on that topic of, the customer is always right, and I had some words on that I won't rehash back here, but from there we headed back to the mall side of things to just kind of, look around. We stopped in the net cafe again and, looked back at the software. I considered buying something from there, but then I was thinking about trying to do something different and keep the playthrough unique. And remembering it's a Friday night. It's been a long week. There's been a lot going on. It's also the start of a new month. And there was a fish place down, one level at the mall there that we hadn't eaten at before. I decided we're focusing on academics right now. That fish platter was rich in omega-3s, which claim to be good for our academics. Again, it might be that placebo effect idea, but since we actually got points of academics for eating there, I guess there was some truth to it. But yeah, I reasoned we could buy software upstairs and take it home and, do kind of what we did yesterday of the, the shared computer in the lobby. But I figured, let's try something different and get a good meal, get something after this long day, this long week that we hadn't done before. And it looked like a nice, comfy, casual setting with a good meal in front of him. It was also, fairly inexpensive, so it was kind of nice since we have a limited, amount of yen on hand still right now. It got us a couple points of academics, not enough to put us into a new threshold yet, but just like we've been doing with courage, it's nice to see the little bits of progress that accumulate over time. So I like to think, we had a nice, good fish meal and just kind of relaxed there. Ended up making our way back to the dorm for the evening and getting into bed with the thought of a long weekend coming up. There's still a little bit of school to get through before the break, but there's that fun of being a student and knowing that some time off is coming and just having that anticipation of, it's almost there. What am I going to do? And I'm sure, after a good meal and a busy day, it was easy to get into bed and just kind of think about, okay, let's finish out the obligations, and then, we've got that fun on the horizon. So hopefully that actually does materialize into something fun for us. But with that, I think that wraps up all the progress we made in-game on May 1st, Friday, May 1st here. Like I said before, it's kind of wild to think we've started a new month already. But it's exciting and encouraging to see where it'll take us from here. So on all that, let's wrap up Friday, May 1st. I want to thank all of you for being here. It means a lot to me. I hope you had a lot of fun. I had fun today with all of you. I'm going to keep streaming every day at 12:30 Eastern Time. So if you want to catch me live, that is when that will be available. I'm also going to upload every day's playthrough to YouTube. So if you want to catch up on the current day or any past day, you can go to my YouTube channel for that. And I hope all of you have a fantastic remainder of Friday, May 1st. If you're able to have some fun, I hope it can be fun. If there's stuff you have to get done, I hope that goes smoothly and takes you back to that fun. So again, I want to just thank you all for being here. I am Tom Shima. Enjoy the rest of your day. Hope it starts us off on a good weekend. And I hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you so much, and goodbye. With that, we've reached the end of the day. Please look forward to next time to see where the game goes from here. This journey is being streamed live on my Twitch channel if you'd like to be there in person for the experience. Links and schedule details can be found in the description. I'll keep uploading each day's session to this channel so you can keep watching here. Once again, I'm Tom Shima. Thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you again as I continue the series, Persona a Day. What will tomorrow bring?